before you start the exercise, you want to put your fingers down in first position where you'd normally have them, making sure your thumb is resting on the side where your first finger would go down, right in this area. Straight or bent thumb, depending on which string you're playing on. You might maneuver around this way or this way. And you want your fingers to be hovering over the strings. They should look like little arches or little rainbows. And when you put your fingers down, you want to make sure you're putting them just on the fingertips, not on the pads like this, but standing nice and tall, just nice and tall on the fingertips. And then when we go to start our exercise, we'll pick a string, say the D string, and we'll start in the up position. The up position is what I call your normal finger position that you would have when you go to play your violin. And so we'll do 4 counts of the up position, and then we'll shift everything back towards the scroll. We'll roll back on the ball of the finger. So we'll go from up to the back position. Up, back. And when I do that, my whole hand is shifting back. I'm throwing the momentum in. I'm getting motion from my wrist here, but I'm also throwing my whole hand into it. So up, back. And we'll do 4 counts first. So up, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4. Up, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4. So those were our whole notes. Then we'll go to half notes. So up, 2, back, 2. Up, 2, back, 2. Up, 2, back, 2. Then we'll switch to quarter notes. Up, back, up, back. Next, we'll go to eighth notes. And by now, by the time you're doing eighth notes, you're going to probably pretty much just go as fast as you can with your finger. So it'll be like a double time from what we just did. Up, back, up, back, up, back, up, back. Once you feel comfortable with that, you'll go into the 16th notes, and that's probably your limit as far as how fast you can go. So if you can do that, you're pretty much doing vibrato at this point. Of course, when you do this exercise, it's probably not going to come easily the first couple weeks that you do it. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel like you don't really feel the motion. And then the idea is that if you do this every day, you're building up those muscles in your hands. The flexibility, your hand should be very fluid, not stiff. If you're locked up here, you can't go anywhere. If this part of your hand is crunching up on the violin, your fingers really can't go. So you want it to be nice and open, nice and fluid. So over the course of weeks or months, you're getting more comfortable. You can also think of it as waving at yourself. Hi. You can try that. But mainly, you need to just do it every day for 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. Don't overdo it because you can really tire your hand out and fatigue yourself. Maybe 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the afternoon, again at night. But consistency, just really doing it every day. And what people usually find is that one day after a certain period of time, they'll just have this light bulb where your fingers are just like, your hand is, oh, that's what I meant to do. So once you feel good about your first finger, you can go into your second finger. That's usually the easiest finger. And do the same thing. Go whole notes, half notes, eighth notes, or I'm sorry, whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, and then 16th. So we'll do it again. Up, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4. we'll go to quarter notes. Actually, we'll go to half notes. Up, 2, back, 2, up, 2, back, 2. Then we'll go to your quarter notes. And it doesn't really matter how many you want to do per bow. It's really not the bowing that counts, it's the hand motion that you're doing. So just do whatever comes naturally to you. And then we'll go to your eighth notes. And then your 16th notes. So after that, you do the same thing for your third finger and the same thing for your fourth finger. Your fourth finger, your pinky, is always going to be your hardest finger just because it's shorter, and of course it's a little more weak than your other fingers since you don't use it very often. So give your fourth finger some time, maybe even just start out with your first three fingers and get really solid with them, and then try adding that one in. But once you've done one string, go ahead and do it on all of the strings and just get comfortable. Remember to stay up on the tips of your fingers, and like I said in the article, that might mean that you need to adjust your arm, so you might need to bring your elbow in towards your body a little bit, coming, say it's down, hanging down here, you might need to bring it around like this, and what that's going to do is that's going to allow your fingers from being like resting on the pads, and it's going to allow them to come up and around and be able to stand up nice and tall on the tips, like that. One common thing is that people try to do vibrato, they think that their finger is actually moving around or sliding around a little bit on the string, but what it's actually doing is that it's in place in the normal area that you'd play, except it's pivoting back and forth, sort of like a rocking chair on the floor. The rocking chair is not actually moving, it's just rolling back and forth on its base. So you're rolling back and forth. Another thing is that when you go to do that, your hand will want to slide around at first. So just make sure that you're planting it down nice and firmly, and you're just allowing it to it uses its own momentum to thrust itself into this motion. And like I said, it's really just a matter of doing this every single day over a course of time and just being really, really patient with it. It's definitely not an overnight sort of thing. And as I mentioned in the article, making sure all of your bases are covered before you even start this. You have good intonation, you're able to read your music with no problem, and your left hand position is really great, your bow hold is nice and solid, and just all your bases are covered before you get into vibrato, because it's definitely a more advanced technique, and it takes time, and you don't want any other distractions to take away from it. So just making sure that you have all your bases covered before you get into it, and then going ahead and making a commitment to do it every single day, and you should be well on your way to learning once you add that into your daily practice routine. Before you know it, it'll become part of your playing, just like breathing. So you'll be able to add this really nice, emotional, really rich tone to your playing. And you can, once you've gotten it down, you can give it more of an arm feeling, a wrist feeling. Wrist is really your basis, just playing from the wrist. You see this action, this power coming from the wrist. And then once you've felt really strong about that, you can add in your whole arm to get a really deep, slow vibrato. It just really depends on what kind of style you're going for. So keep doing it, practice every day, and I wish you the best.